and welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop. I'm your host Jen, and I'm very excited to talk about today's episode. But before we begin, there will be spoilers as we talk about major events that unfold within the story. In addition, each episode will have a list of trigger warnings in the description. Be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast, and show your support on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. And welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop. And today we have a very special guest. As we have two lovely readers with us. We have Sabrina.
Hello, friends.
And Luciano.
I'm back.
He's back away from hiatus. He learned how to read, guys. It's amazing.
Yay!
I haven't even read my nursing books.
Oh, that's good.
That's great. Yeah, so what book are you bringing, and why did you bring this specific book?
So I brought in You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince. You gave me 3 books to choose from, and I just went. But no, this book sounded nice, and I liked the title. I liked the cover of the book.
Yeah, You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince by Timothy Janovsky. This book came out in October of 2022. Very fresh new book. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're going to hop right into it. We're going to play a little game. So you guys are going to summarize this book in 30 seconds. And we're going to make sure you guys both get to participate. So starting with Sabrina, one sentence at a time, please go ahead and give me the summary.
Matthew Prince is a spoiled brat who has to learn his lesson.
He makes a big mistake, and his parents send him to be with his grandparents for Christmas.
Matthew's in for a rude awakening when a stranger gives him a new meaning.
Add in Hallmark love and a possible redemption for Matthew.
And you get You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince.
Yay!
Love it.
Wow.
You guys did it. Alright, I'm going to summarize it really quick for anybody who hasn't heard of this book. Matthew Prince is young, rich, and thoroughly spoiled. So what if his parents barely remember he exists, and the press is totally obsessed with him? He's on top of the world. But one major PR misstep later, and Matthew is cut off and shipped away to spend the holidays with his grandparents in a small town. It's bad enough he's stuck in some festive winter wonderland. It's even worse that he has to share space with Hector Martinez, a obnoxiously attractive local who's unimpressed with everything Matthew does. Just when it looks like the holiday seasons is bringing nothing but heated squabbles, the charity gala loses its coordinator and Matthew steps in to get home early on good behavior, with Hector as his maddening +1. In the end, the forced proximity and infectious holiday cheer might be enough to make the lonely prince's heart grow 3 sizes this year.
Ooh.
Love it.
Merry Christmas! Yeah, this is very much a Hallmark aesthetic book, which I've never read in a book, so it's kind of interesting to see. And I think I need to go and watch some more Hallmark movies.
I am totally down. I love Hallmark movies. So to read it was kind of interesting. Definitely gives you like a little more like scenes that maybe you're looking for in a Hallmark movie. Just like the extended cut. Pretty much.
Like the R-rated one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, this is more PG-13.
Well,
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
probably like not mature.
PG-16 is
Okay.
an
Yeah,
option.
Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and start with our favorite quotes. Sabrina, what quote did you bring? I brought a lot of them.
Perfect, because I did too. My absolute favorite one that I had to pause when I heard it the first time because I laughed is, "I'm gay, obviously I walk fast." And that was by Matthew himself. All of my favorite quotes are like from the beginning because I feel like that was when he was just the most iconic because he was so over dramatic. It was just perfect. Such a great comeback and obviously gay people walk fast. We all know this.
Right. And it's funny because the town was so far away. And she's like, it's like a 2-hour walk. And he's like, no, I could get there in an hour. Yeah, so one of my favorite quotes is, "Following expectation doesn't make you a better person. Being the person someone says you should be doesn't always make you happy." I just like this one because it's talking about how, not letting others dictate your future. Because sometimes it just doesn't work out. Having those expectations isn't necessarily going to put you on the path of like good and happy. It's not a straight path. It's always curved. Can't always make other people happy when it comes down to your own life, I guess.
Preach.
Lucy, what do we got over here?
So my little excerpt is, around the beginning of the book, we've heard Matthew say little things about Hector, saying like attractive or whatnot in his own way.
Mm-hmm.
This quote right here is around the first time that we really got to know his feelings about Hector. We stand there in a gridlock, him on the top step, me down below. Heated eyes that linger too long, and for a second, it feels like there's a flicker of detestable lust lapping off his hard countenance. Like at any second we could rip into each other in a wild, animalistic way. Shed our layers and get to the root of our loathing.
Kind of like Shrek.
I love this quote.
No.
Love it.
I like it too.
Mm-hmm. And then it gets more graphic from there.
Yeah.
Not in that scene. Not quite yet.
Not yet, but
yeah.
Later.
And he does actually rip off.
Right.
So,
Right.
Another quote that I had was, apologies aren't always about acceptance. So that one's short, sweet, but I really like that one because it's not about making sure the other person understands that you're sorry. It's about righting your wrongs and realizing that you've made mistakes. And sometimes it's harder to forgive and forget.
Anybody could say sorry.
Exactly.
Especially
nowadays, too. Everybody says it's like part of the vocabulary. As much as saying like hello and goodbye now.
I mean, most of my quotes are just really dumb things that I thought were funny, so Jen can give like all the like heartwarming stuff.
That she usually does.
Really liked just one of the first interactions between Hector and Matthew is when they're like arguing while like chopping the logs, and Hector says, for someone whose last name is Prince, you're not very charming. And then I didn't write it down, but I remember there was a scene later on too where he then kind of went back on that, or like it was something that Matthew brought up a lot of, you know, his last name being Prince. Obviously it showed definitely their like feeling towards each other at the beginning of they weren't super huge fans, but I mean it was like a classic, like a
play on words.
Yeah.
Too, yeah. So this is when Grandma and Matthew are going through the pictures for the gala, and they're doing the past exhibit. And he holds out the picture of his mother and he says, do you miss her? The girl in the photo. And Grandma says, sometimes, but that's what being a parent is. Watching a person grow and learning to accept them for who they become. Oh my god, so good. Grandma slay. We're not parents, but this is good advice. You know, you can't force ideals onto your kids, like their own person and their own values as they grow up. And I really love this whole town, which I'm going to talk about it later, but this whole town, I think, all has the same mindset of just like, it's very accepting. Grandma is right where she needs to be.
I love Grandma. The most relatable line in this entire thing to me was when he just said that he had no thoughts, just miserable vibes. And I have never connected to a line in a book more than I was just like, that's something that I feel like I could say daily. You know, obviously you always want your character to be relatable. It keeps people reading, but it also really showed like how modern the story is. I haven't read books that were this modern before. Like it literally sounds like conversations I'm walking past. Very interesting to read a book that felt so modern, like felt like I was literally just having conversations. And like there were a lot of lines that I thought, I was like, that line was like so dumb. It was dumb that you said that, but I'm also then would stop and be like, I've said that 100%, or I've heard people say that. Like, it was very realistic in that aspect.
Yeah, they make a lot of shout outs to a lot of brands. I wonder if this was sponsored at all. Wow, there was a lot of them.
Pop culture references.
Yeah, there was so many. I have one more quote. This one is just, I don't have anything really to say about it. I just thought it was really cute. And it's right at the end at the airport. And he's thinking, it's the kind of kiss that reads like an ellipses and hangs in the air over our heads. An uncertain piece of punctuation on a story we are still writing. It's a promise of something more to come. So cute.
Yes.
That line right there saved a lot of the book for me. So yeah, just really cute. We're gonna head over now to our likes and dislikes. Why don't you go ahead and start us with the likes, Sabrina?
All right. I love a good redemption arc. It happened with a lot of characters, and it happened in a Hallmark movie type of way where it's from one side completely to a different side. But I always love to see that and see like how they make it make sense. I also like how modern it was. I thought it was interesting. It definitely wasn't like, it's not going to go down in history as one of the most amazing pieces of literature ever written, but
not a classic.
Yeah, but it definitely was something that kept me interested. I mean, I listened to it in like a day and didn't want to go to sleep because I wanted to finish the last hour, but it was just something that was, like, kind of fun, play in the background. It kind of, like, brought you in. I really loved the town and all of the people in the town. It's definitely somewhere that I'm down to move, if anyone knows where it is.
It's by Manhattan, I think.
Yeah, they're supposed to be in Massachusetts, which in my brain, it was like, those aren't next to each other. And then I was like...
Yeah, because he, like, at the end, he drives from home back to his grandma's house.
It's just like a feel-good story. I like that they touched on mental health and his struggles with that. I think it's something that you see more often in books now, and I always like to see that and see how it's represented. Just good times.
Yeah. Absolutely. Lucy, what are some things that you like?
What Bree said, the modernness of this book, just reading through it, it wasn't like there was a lot of conversations that read the exact same way that we talk every single day. All the pop culture references, rideshare being one of them, instead of saying like the other two. The rideshare.
We're not getting sponsored by them, so
right, we're not saying any names. I like all the gay inclusion in this, but not just with Hector. They could have easily just said Hector's gay but he's bi. And he had a girlfriend before, and they touch on that. And then he meets that awesome girl Noelle at the beginning of the book, and she's gay.
They also have the trans woman that made the flag too, and they introduced her, which was awesome.
Right, and then towards like the middle of the book, he goes for a walk around town. He sees the rainbow. It's not every single small town is going to be gay inclusive. Yeah. But you see it all the time now. All these small towns being more inclusive when you think, like, at the top of your head, that's the last place a gay person should go to, Yeah. And then towards the end, like, it is a redemption arc. You kind of suspect how the book's going to end. But it, like, gives you complete, like, left turn at the end. And it's like, well, maybe. And then it gives you another one towards the end. I don't remember if it's the epilogue or the last chapter. And then it's like, okay, now we're all coming back together. Yeah. So, yeah, I like this book.
Yeah.
What do you got, Jen?
Oh, thank you for asking. So, obviously, I'm really loving the town of gay people. It gives me a lot of Ferndale vibes. If you're from Michigan, you know the vibe. I loved the ending. I thought, like you said, Lucy, how it was very predictable. I enjoyed that it was predictable and you kind of knew it was going to happen. But I really liked that. I loved the small town vibes, very cute and cozy, so it fit the aesthetic of this book very well. I really liked how his past played into his character and his redemption arc. We got a lot about his history, which I loved, and I really liked how explained why he acted and reacted so many different ways. I also really liked that by the end, Matt knew everyone's name. He was calling everyone out of the gala by their name, which was really nice. And the last thing I liked was I really enjoyed Matt and his mom's rekindling and her coming home for the gala. I was really worried that we weren't going to see them at all. Basically, like halfway through the book, I was like, okay, something's going on with his parents. Either they were getting divorced or they were losing all their money. Those were my two options. So I'm really glad that she came home at the end and was like, even though she caused most of the drama, but she came home and was like, hey, this is what's going on. So now, what are some dislikes? Lucy, what are some things that you did not like about this book?
Well, it felt a little rushed in some areas. They did spend a little bit of time, like, getting the gala ready. But I feel like you really rushed the relationship between Hector and Matthew. Like, I know they're, like, sleeping in the same room together and, it forces a relationship and whatnot. But to go from, like, I've never met this person ever to, like, here we are, like, making love, falling in love and stuff. It's just, it kind of adds to that gay trope of gay people fall in love so easily, the drop of a dime. Other dislikes, I don't know how I feel about Mom. Yeah. She caused most of the drama. Okay. Not her fault entirely.
A little bit her fault.
Well, I mean, if we add in like her mental history, anxiety too,
I guess, but she like outright was like, you said Hector, so I just went with it.
Because it's like they ship him off. I also was with you and thought we weren't gonna hear anything about the parents until the end of the book. But then she comes back to check on him, to see the gala. So I'm like, okay, well, here's a little bit of redemption for Mom as well. And then she causes more drama. And then even more drama when they go back to New York. At the end of the book, I know she's still there. But he says it in the thing. How Oksana came to be with Matthew at the airport. And then Mom found out, so she tagged along too. So it's like, I don't know what the author wants me to feel about mom towards the end.
Yeah, do we vote for her? Do we vote for
Right.
Mom?
Mhm.
She's trying to like force her way in, and I guess you see that a lot with parents who were very absent in their kid's life, is by the time they realize, oh my god, I've done this and I don't want to have done this, they try too hard to then force themselves in and end up causing a lot of problems.
Right.
But she's there, she's trying more than the dad ever did. I mean, he practically doesn't exist.
Yeah, after.
Yeah.
She is problematic. She caused a lot of the issues towards the end, and definitely like the whole way that he acts is based on how his parents treated him or neglected him, essentially. I don't know how I feel about her either. I want to vote no on her, but I do also get, they paint it out where it's understandable at least why she's acting the way she is.
I think we just need a little bit more.
Yeah, we need a sequel.
We're
a prequel about the mom growing up.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah.
A lesbian love.
Oh.
Ooh,
Well, they kind of touch on that too, on her growing up. She didn't act this way growing up. You know, it was only when she got successful and left the city, never came back, that's when she started acting the way she is.
Yeah.
Changes people.
Some things that I didn't love. I thought a lot of the romances intersected into Matthew's thoughts were a little forced at times. Like, I get it, like, he is a young man and he saw this very attractive man. And it just felt like it was pulling from the narrative, and it felt like it was forcing the readers to, like, be on the same page as Matthew. I feel like we could have done without as in-depth as it was, and still kind of supported their relationship. I think the beginning was really slow. There was really no real info about his past until later, which is fine. You don't have to reveal everything, but you have to give us some kind of information. Maybe give a little bit more of the town or the parents or something just to, like, latch onto so I can understand the character a little bit more and start sympathizing with him. But I didn't love all of the modern callbacks. I think there was just a little too many that it felt like it was sponsored. Like, I get it, though. I understand why he did it, so I didn't totally hate it. I just didn't love it, because he was a very materialistic guy. Everything he had to be name brand, so that's fine. Okay, the biggest thing I didn't love was the tropes in this story. So we have forced proximity, we have enemies to lovers, there was 3 that I wrote down. Oh, miscommunication, yes, of course. Which, if anybody has ever listened to the book stop, I hate that trope. It's my least favorite. Yeah, so those are like the big 3 tropes in the story, and I think all of them were done so poorly. Like, enemies to lovers, they had like 1 or 2 fights. And wasn't heated in any way. Miscommunication makes you want to throw up just thinking about it. And then, forced proximity, we saw maybe once or twice. There was not enough. I think there wasn't enough to support what he was trying to do.
I liked that he didn't go back to him, like, the next day.
Yeah.
Like, that's always what happens, is at the end they're like, you know, this whole thing happens, and then he goes back to him the next day or calls him. Like, he waited, he talked to people he knew, he, like, was trying to figure out who he was a little bit, and then when he went, he didn't force it right away either. He was like, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
You think about that. And then be here. Like, obviously that was a whole cliche of like, oh, we'll go to the airport if you want. Like, I felt like at the end that made it seem like he didn't learn his lesson, because he just bought extra airplane tickets for no reason, and that made me annoyed. I'm like, so why did you need to buy, like, one for the one day and one for the other? You just wasted money. So, like, he didn't learn fully.
But he was doing it for a good cause.
Right.
Yeah.
For the miscommunication, it's not only on Hector and Matthew, it's also, like, his mom, too, was, like, the thing that really pushed it. Because I totally get that Matthew was having an anxiety attack when it was happening, and that's why he couldn't really communicate. And that's totally fine. The stuff with his mom, that really got
Yeah, complete 180 after that.
But they at least waited a couple days.
Right. I like that, like, towards the end, everything's revealed. He realizes he's made a big mistake, but he doesn't really, like, run away like I thought he was going to. I thought when he exited the restaurant that he was going to be like, don't ever talk to me again, you know. But he didn't. He went to his friends,
Bentley's or
you know,
Bailey's or whatever his name is.
and then went to Oksana's apartment, like, had a moment to, like, think, and then went back to his parents and said, this is the deal, this is what's gonna happen, you know, if we're gonna make this work. And it just plays to his character development.
Yeah.
Like, towards the beginning, they were saying how he meets, like, some kind of, like, dead end, he quits it, like, the...
Like, he always tried to do, like...
Yeah, he tried to do the
things.
swimming thing.
Yeah.
And then he went on the diving
And then,
board
like,
and decided not to.
NYU
NYU, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, but like towards the end of the book, he's like, okay, well, just because I hit this dead end doesn't mean I'm just gonna quit. I'm gonna salvage whatever he can out of this new life that he wants for himself. So
Yeah, we get a lot of the aftermath. We get to see a lot of that. It didn't just go like, he leaves, this tiny little chapter happens. We get to see him go through all of that stuff, through going to his friends, going to the Christmas, coming back home. Like, we get to see a lot of the aftermath of him after like the big climax of it. So, which was really awesome. Sabrina, we're finally on you for your dislikes.
Guess I get what they were trying to do, but I just absolutely hated how many times I had to hear the word dude. Like, it made me so angry at a certain point. Especially because, like, I get it. There's plenty of words that I say all the time. And there's plenty of things like that, but there's a time and a place, and if you're, like, confessing your love for someone, you're not gonna call them dude. It's so dumb. And, like, I get it, okay, I get it. That was his thing, that was his family's thing, and they explain it more, but also, like, the fact that nobody was like, oh my god, shut up, I was like, dude,
No,
I would've.
he definitely told him to shut up.
Yeah, but not enough people did.
Oh, other people did.
Like, Grandma didn't, Noelle didn't, nobody else did.
I read what the reviews for this book, that was one of the 1-star reviews, was like, dude, and how it's just awful. But I feel like the author was also trying to be like, well, I'm trying to make this character bisexual. And it's not enough to just say, oh, he had a girlfriend in the past. Let's have him say dude after every sentence.
Yeah, I totally see that.
And flannels, And he's like, can I put makeup on you? He's like, no. Or no, the pink like jumpsuit or whatever it is. And he's like, no way.
Okay, the fact that I didn't put that together, that makes it makes way more sense in my brain.
It was supposed to be like a misdirect. He was supposed to think that he was straight, and then he's saying all this dude in the flannels and stuff, and then he's like, oh, by the way, I'm bi. He's like, what?
I loved how he just spit it out there because,
like, oh, I'm bi.
I was like, oh, okay.
It should be normalized.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's comfortable. I love that. Like, they didn't play into the whole, like, well, I don't know. I guess I could like guys. I don't like. He was just sure about it. He was like, yeah, I like guys too.
Yeah.
Get over it. And he was like, oh, okay. He was very thrown off.
Matthew had this entire scenario planned down in his head. Like, I'm gonna say this. He's gonna say that. I'm gonna say this, and then at the end, I'm bi. No, he's like, I'm queer. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And he got so stunned by it.
Yeah. Okay.
It was amazing.
Go off. Also, Grandma was not in this enough. I think they should make an entire book about her. I'm completely obsessed with her. Not enough Grandma. Too much dude. And I absolutely hate that he went to his ex's house at the end. He stopped there and they weren't there. I hated that he went there before he went to Oksana's. Are you kidding me?
For no reason.
Like, I get it.
Oh, you're talking about Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew.
Oh, okay.
Matthew.
In my head, I was thinking Hector, and I was like, well, he needed a truck. How is he going to get this?
No. That was fine. I did like that because
I hate that,
Matthew's like, who's this slut? Like,
right.
with her.
Right.
But, yeah, no, the fact that he went to their apartment, I was like, isn't he done? Like, what was he planning on? I kind of wanted to know what his plan was.
I feel like maybe he was a tell that maybe he was trying to fall back into his old ways and he felt comfort with them and they were something familiar. He knew that they were bad for him, but he wanted to go back because he wanted to feel something.
Yeah.
That's how I interpreted it at least. But yeah, when I saw that he went back to Sebastian and Michael,
no
I
idea.
Even know. They don't even care.
Patrick?
Right.
Patrick?
It doesn't even matter.
Don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, the husbands that he was dating.
Yeah, when he walked in that building, I was so mad. I was very glad they weren't there because I would have been so mad if we went through this whole thing and then he just went there. Don't do it.
They just weren't good for him.
No.
You know, and it kind of adds to like what I was saying earlier, how he goes to this new town and it's not like he doesn't have baggage with him. He just got off this bad relationship with those two guys.
Baggage, got it.
He does have a lot of baggage.
But like he almost forced the new relationship like immediately, you know, just because of the close proximity that they had together, you know. I wouldn't have minded if Hector was like in a different house and then the relationship kind of happened that way. But to just force the relationship because they're in close proximity and right after he's getting off the very bad relationship he was with those two guys, it felt forced.
Yeah, I feel like they were trying to lean into, he just really wanted to rebound.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really bad.
Right.
And Hector was just there.
Right.
So...
Go down there and there's bunk beds. I was like, Grandma knew exactly what she was
Right.
doing, okay? But also, like, bunk beds, really. Grandma was a troublemaker, and I love that about her.
Yeah, so I really want to talk about Timothy's writing style. It was interesting. I did like his writing style. It was a mix of, like, really good, but also, like, cliche stuff that you would expect in a book like this.
Yeah.
What got me was the overuse on such big words that didn't fit the sentence at all. Let me just pick up my thesaurus into the page that this is about. It was just a little obnoxious. And listen, I'm not saying that you need a high reading level to enjoy a book like this. And I read a lot of books, but there were some words where I was like, no, you don't need to put that in there like that. This is overused and too much. So yeah, but I don't know. I think it was a good book. Didn't take a lot of smarts to read it, I guess. But it was a bit excessive on some parts.
Honestly, the writing style to me felt very familiar because I feel like I tend to do that a lot if I'm writing stuff. Is if I feel like I'm using the same thing multiple times, I'll just go the complete opposite way and pull something random. But then also you can't say the word dude 80,000 times and then also be like, well, I can't say the word said again, so I'm gonna be like, he bestowed the words upon his ears. Like, you can't just throw that in there randomly. A lot of it was because Matthew is supposed to just be so, like, snooty and think he's, like, better, but he also was, like, not that smart.
Right.
I also get that Hector was literature nerd, he was majoring in English, but it usually wasn't him that came out with those random words. Or even Grandpa, who was a professor for English.
That's another thing we're going to talk about.
But just, like, it was just, like, Matthew, and I'm like, this guy's stupid. Like, he doesn't know these words, and you're trying to make me think he does, and it wasn't very believable some of those times.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this book was really geared towards, like, the younger generation, like the Gen Zers and stuff.
Gay, so
especially since it was, especially since it was released this year. I feel like he almost kind of just watched like a full day of Gen Z television or something, or went on social media and was like, "Oh, so they say this all the time, and they're using this and rideshare and all this stuff," and just crammed it into this book because he thought that Gen Zers are gonna relate to this book.
Did he say slay once?
No.
LOL? Okay. Did he say that?
Do we know how old he is?
That's what I was going to ask
author?
too. Yeah.
He's like 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
100% know that he wrote this book so it would get popular on Book Talk.
Right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of books that recently have gone very viral because of TikTok and people talking about them a lot. And like even the fact that he mentioned TikTok in the book, I was like, this man is 100% trying for this. And like, get your bag, sis.
I mean, he also kind of like jammed a lot of gay characters into this book too. For being a small town.
You're gonna complain?
No, but listen. If we're talking about New York, that's one thing. But if he's going to like a small town where there's not a lot of people, like obviously gay people exist everywhere.
They do.
You know, everywhere.
Oh, God. I thought it was
everywhere. Okay. You know,
they're popping out from every corner, every alley.
Believe it or not, okay? But like, so he goes to this small town, and the first person he meets, that coffee girl, is gay. And then, Hector's also gay or bisexual. And then the trans woman that you're talking about. And then we don't even talk about New York because obviously everybody's gay in New York.
They're there,
you know. Yeah. I felt like there was not a lot where it was overwhelming, but if you want to tell like, oh, rich kid goes to a small town and he happens to be gay, you can't have like this many in a small town.
Maybe there's always just that many we just can't see.
But like so like open and out.
Well, that's the emphasis of the town though, is that it is so open and it's such a strong community and there is that representation there. I think if he wouldn't have mentioned it being that way, then it would be a little bit more abnormal.
Right.
For having it to be so vivid, I guess. But the fact that he mentioned, like, even Grandma is like, you know, this is a very close-knit town and everyone is very happy with the way they are and, you know, they're very proud of it and they throw it on the streets and all that kind of stuff. And there was never really any kind of hate from anybody. Like, you never see it anywhere.
Not at all.
And I think that's just the world that Timothy wanted to create, is just a place where somebody that can relate to this book can go and live in it for a little bit.
Right.
And see some gay people make out.
Right.
Hell yeah.
I mean, one of the like steamy scenes between them where they were like putting all the gala together and everything, and then the security guard comes up. I didn't once think they should stop because they're gay. But no, it was more like, we shouldn't be doing this in public.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I like that part.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
they did the pronouns. I really liked the representation of the pronouns with Wendy. Again, normalizing it and making it a normal thing. I really wish the pronouns showed up a little bit more than just when a trans character came.
Right.
It should have been when, he met Noelle at the cafe. Matthew meets her sister and all this kind of stuff. So I wish it was a little bit more than just waiting till a trans character came up. Who is your favorite character?
Grandma, obviously. In my notes, I literally said, favorite character, Grandma. Need I say more? I mean, she just is the grandma that everybody needs in their life. She was funny. I like that she was playing games with them and, like, making fun of them a little bit. Grandpa was fine. He was very typical grandpa. Like, he was fun, too. Typical old man. Just sits in the corner with a bad back. But Grandma was just a whole vibe. Literally the scene where they went and got the Christmas tree and she had like a little pom-pom hat on, I screamed. I was like so excited. It was just Grandma for every possible reason it could be. I just love her.
Yeah.
Sarah, the publicity agent. No, I'm just joking. I love
What? Sarah.
When you first said Sarah, I was like, who? And then you said publicity agent. I was like, who?
No.
The homophobic racist one?
No. I love Grandma. I also chose Grandma. Love her. She was like the voice of reason. She was kind of stern with Matthew at the beginning, so I was really like against her for a little bit. But then I kind of understood why. She had this whole plan with everybody, and you're right, Bree, saying that she knew what she was doing, putting them both in the basement. She knew what she was doing.
She was like, I'm about to have me a Hallmark movie.
Exactly.
My own house.
Like, everything. Like, she is like the glue for this entire family. She knew her daughter was kind of lost, and this was her opportunity to bring everybody back together. And even towards the end where Matthew called her and apologized to her, and she's like, there's nothing to apologize for, When the reunion happens and Grandma's like, let's just go into the other room. No reason. Let's just go.
You know what? No, just go.
Right. Let's just get in there. Like, I love her character.
So I also picked Grandma.
Yeah, there you go. See,
well, she's one of them. What made me love her was the Christmas cookie scene when she wanted to be the judge and got the tape recorder out. So that's what sold it for me. She's so cute. I also picked Noelle. Noelle is exactly what Matt needed in a friend. Period. Friend. Because he didn't have any friends. Loser. Just kidding. Yeah, he didn't have any friends. And she and him just clicked so fast up to even like the date, and he brought her the books and stuff. So cute. Anyways, yeah. So I really liked her as well.
Hi friends. We would like to take a moment to thank all of our lovely Patreon subscribers for the Bookstop podcast.
Nick W, Ashley A, Bree P, Tim M, and Lulu.
If you would like a special shout out in the next episode, go to patreon.com and subscribe to the Bookstop podcast.
The next thing I want to talk about is the big climax of the story of Hector selling out Matt. They can't see. I did quotation marks. Selling out Matt. I personally hated it. There was no build-up. There was no, secret of him, worrying that he was going to find out about it. I think if they wanted to sell that point of Hector selling out Matt, then there should have been an issue at the beginning where he was actually angry at him. And then from here on out, Hector is being suspicious, sus, if you will. That's when maybe he pushes Matt away and doesn't want to get close because he knew he sold him out. Something like that. I just didn't love it. It felt very, like you had said, forced.
It really did feel like there was no motive for it. I'm not gonna lie, I was shook. I was like, hold on, what did she say? And then for a moment I was like, there's no way that he did. But also, as far as our knowledge goes, he's the only other person that knows that information that was in this town. We obviously don't know anything about this deal that his parents were doing and all that nonsense. So, didn't obviously want to believe it was him, but when they leave you with no one else to blame for a minute, you have to be like, man, did he really? When did he have the time? Because, he's the only one that knows except Grandma, obviously, but Grandma would never. But yeah, it didn't feel like there was a lot of motive behind it, and I was... Obviously, if he wasn't in the middle of an anxiety attack, I don't think he would have believed his mom when she said it, because it wasn't very convincing. But obviously, in his state of mind he was in no place to question her, was just like, oh, that's what happened? Okay, I'm gonna believe it.
I mean, he comes to this town because being punished for spending the ludicrous amount of money to buy an island. Suddenly the headlines are out. And he is this spoiled rich kid that is sent away from mommy and daddy, you know? And he's having a panic attack over it, which is understandable. But then, like, it transitions into mom saying, oh, someone with an H. And the whole time he's trying to find Hector, and he's like, it's got to be Hector. I think it was necessary to take him into, like, the next step.
Yeah.
Because what was going to be next if this didn't happen? We live happily ever after the gala.
We need conflict, obviously.
You know?
It's a book.
Right.
Yeah.
But, like, if this didn't happen and he got his wish of, oh, now you can come back to us in New York, what was he going to think? Because he's already at odds. He was like, well, do I go back? Or what do I do about Hector? Hector doesn't like long distance. I feel like it had to happen in order for us to get to where Matthew really wanted to be. Otherwise, he was just going to go right back to the life he had before. Maybe with Hector, but still with the fake friends, with eventually finding out mommy and daddy are divorcing. And
it did wonders for his character arc.
Oh, girl.
But I just think it was executed not great because I felt like it was trying to make us turn on Hector.
Which happened.
It didn't happen for me. Like there wasn't a single second where I was like, oh, it's Hector. Because he wears his heart in his sleeve. He was a very compassionate person. And I was like, there's not a single chance this would happen. I guess just different spectrums. Like I didn't see it, you did. But I just really wished it was executed just a little bit better. And that would have feed a little bit more into Friends to Lovers. If we get to see that. A little tiny bitty part of me kind of wishes that he did do that.
Right.
a tiny, just for like theatrics in the book. Tiny wish that he did turn his back on him.
Like, yeah, I agree with that. Oh, yes, I did do it, Matthew. But now that I know exactly how you are in real life, I regret it. Not that he needed it, because Hector was kind of perfect. But
exactly, he was
redemption.
too perfect.
Yeah, redemption arc.
There was absolutely a moment where I was like, as he should, you know? Like,
right.
He should have told them. Because with the way that he immediately came in there of, I'm better than all of you people, and Hector's been living there, been taking care of his grandparents when he hasn't been around, there was way more room for conflict at that point that would have then sold it more at the end. And I think it was mainly because Hector was a nice guy, and so he kind of caved a little too easily, where Matthew just was like, maybe I shouldn't be such a jerk, you know, at some point. But there was a part of me that wanted to be like, what if they did it where he actually did do it? Because I think there is still a way that they could have been redeemed. Hector could have put it from the perspective of like, you needed this in order to move on. Like, this needed to happen. Or like, I was doing this to help you realize how your life was. Like, maybe his, whatever their publicist, maybe she could have reached out to Hector, and then it would have showed her true colors too, of like, she just wanted something to talk about. And so I think it was very possible they could have done it where he actually did it, and they still could have got a good ending. And I honestly would have liked that twist more. It would have felt crazy at first, but then you would have been like, oh shoot, he really did do that. And then you'd be like, can't really blame him, because like, he doesn't even still really know this guy that well.
Because he was cold towards him towards the beginning too, when they first met. But they both were to each other.
Right, and it's like he wasn't supposed to tell anyone, and then he's like, yeah, so like I bought an island. I know, it's like before they even were like a thing, in the same scene that he tells him that he's bi, he tells him that he bought an island, which is like, you didn't even know there was a chance with you two until that moment, but you were planning on telling him this thing that is the only thing you were supposed to keep a secret when you got here. So it's like, he could have easily told them at that point. It didn't matter what the purpose of it was for. He could have literally just been like, hey, publicist, anyone. He could have sold the story to get a ticket to go back home. There was plenty of possibilities that he could have just done it, and it could have just came out later or something.
Or also like how he goes into telling how his dad ruined the family business. Maybe he needed the money to save his family. And that could still pull our heartstrings a little bit. You know, like, well, it was kind of a bad thing to do, but I can kind of understand why you needed the money. But they didn't do any of that. They didn't. Hector just remains perfect.
Hector wasn't my favorite character because there was no flaws in him.
Mm-mm.
We don't like perfect men because it's unrealistic.
Right,
you know?
right.
Like,
Setting the bar too high.
He was
Matthew is at the right level.
Yeah.
Right.
We all hated him several times.
Exactly.
So I have a hot take. This book is Cars.
Is what?
Matthew is Lightning McQueen. Hector is Sally. And you can't sit here and tell me that's not true.
And Hector's who?
Sally?
Sally?
I mean, you're not wrong. She's from the small town.
Yeah.
He's like the rich famous guy
Right.
with the bad attitude. He comes to the small. I would
Yeah.
honestly say Cars is better because they didn't play up their
obviously.
romance as quickly.
No. Yeah, you're right.
They made it better.
Hold on. Cars is better than any piece of literature you give me.
Oh my god.
What if they made a Cars book? Would
Wait
you
a
read it?
Oh, yes.
You're not wrong. That's
Mhm.
a very good hot take. I think this book maybe could have done with that because Lightning McQueen didn't see Sally for the first time and was like, bro, I'm trying to rip all of her clothes off.
Right.
He did find that
The
tramp stamp
I
pretty
know.
fast.
Oh
I
my
know.
god.
But like it was just out. That wasn't his fault.
Huh.
Yeah, there was a lot of points like where Matthew went way too far. Like he thought about things that I was like, bro, chill out. Like you can think someone's hot without being like, I need to be on a Italian vacation with him and he needs to be swinging me in a hammock naked. Like, calm down. You're being a little aggressive.
That's your mindset. You're talking about cars.
Right.
You're talking
No,
about
no.
naked men.
But I'm saying he did that in this story could have benefited from the Cars approach of like they still had the romance, but it didn't have to be that aggressive.
Well, Cars is a children's movie. And this is for...
Are you sure?
Anyways, yeah, that's my hot take, though.
I
I was
can-
thinking
I
about
can
that
see
the
it.
entire time I was reading that book. I was like, is this Lightning
Oh.
McQueen? What is your favorite relationship in this book?
Character relationship? I said Matthew.
Just relationship.
Favorite character relationship. Favorite relationship, Matthew and Noelle. Right from the get-go, he says, one whatever, coffee girl. You know, and she's like, well, first of all, my name is not Coffee Girl. From that moment, I was like, nah, they're gonna be friends. And they end up being friends. Probably his strongest relationship in the book. And like even towards like the end of the book, in the the epilogue, where Noelle's the one that drove everybody.
I've just never heard anyone say epilogue as many times as you guys have.
In the epilogue, Noelle drives everybody to the airport, you know? When Hector's car didn't start and Grandpa lost his keys or wallet or whatever. I was like, yeah, Noelle wants this relationship to work. Or even when he started explaining to Noelle what's going on, like, he trusted her really, like, well, to, like, obviously the town's accepting or whatever, but he trusted her to say, oh yeah, he and Hector kissed. So I was like, I love that relationship.
Yeah, solid. So I have two.
Okay.
Obviously, Matthew and Grandma is a solid choice. What really got me was the quote about the doors and windows, talking about how their relationship was like a door closing, but it should be a window or something like that. And then Matthew was like, there shouldn't be a door at all. It should be, you should just be able to come right through. There's no latches, nothing. Like, it should be open all the time. And then he regrets losing all that time with his grandma because he was growing up the way he did. He lost all those years. My other one, I wish there was more, but I really liked Grandma and Anna. I wish we got a little bit more on the fallout of their relationship. I really like that she still supported her daughter, even though she was miles away. I'm sure she has every single one of the books that her daughter wrote. Yeah, I just wish there was more about, like, maybe them growing up, just stories from Grandma about her being younger. And I think that would have helped Matthew connect a little bit more to his mom, instead of just, those little tiny bitty scenes we get.
Yeah, like, Grandma has the whole table right at the front of her bookstore with all of her daughter's books. That's so cute. Like, she just, even though her daughter is how she is at that moment, she still is like, I mean, yeah, she's my kid. What are you gonna do? I also picked Matthew and Noelle. Same thing. Like, she immediately didn't take any of his anything. She was just like, no, you're being dumb. I don't even need to know you. You're not gonna talk to me like that. His first real friend, and she was someone that he really needed, immediately welcomed him by picking on him, but also being like pretty much forcing him to go on a first date. I just like her. She was cool. She was a great vibe. And then she just made Matthew better. So obviously you can't be mad at that.
You guys want to play a little game?
Sure.
Yeah, I could go for a game.
All right, so you guys have your little noises, and we are going to play a little trivia game. So whoever can ring in first with the answer will be able to earn a point. If you ring in but don't know the answer, the other person gets to steal.
All right.
Lucy, would you like to go ahead and give us your sound? If you guys hear that, that is Lucy chiming in.
That's
Sabrina.
him actually just laughing.
Right. It was just me.
Okay, this is the
Sabrina.
noise that I can make with my mouth. Impressive.
So the first one we hear gets the answer first. What is Hector's favorite word? Okay, Lucy.
Dude.
Yay, Lucy.
This
gets
is
a
rigged.
point.
I'll let you get that one because you won't get any more.
Yeah, that's all for Lucy, guys.
Yeah, I think so. I am horrible at these trivia games.
What is Hector's and Matthew's favorite version of the Christmas Carol? Sabrina.
The Muppets version.
The Muppets version.
Shout out to Patrick, the lover of Muppets. That made me think of him.
What is the name of the restaurant Christina runs?
I know who that is.
Okay.
I don't remember. We'll say, like, it had something to do with sauce, I feel like.
Nope. Lucy for the steal.
Noodles?
Just noodles?
Just noodles?
No. It was called A Very Fine Vine.
Oh, that's right.
Gosh, dang it.
That's right.
What is the book series Anna is famous for?
No.
This is really embarrassing, guys.
I'm not gonna get it right, but dark ciders, dark something.
Dark
Yeah.
something, yeah. Sabrina?
It's like the dark city below or something.
A game of dark dissension.
Dissension?
Oh.
Dissension.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of like a Game of Thrones.
Right.
What presents did Matthew give Noelle when he first came to apologize?
Okay. He, when he first came to apologize, he gave her the signed first edition of his mom's book and a latte art kit. A Christmas one, specifically.
Yeah.
Because she was really bad at it. The entire cast of the show?
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
What color pants was Matthew wearing when he met Hector?
They were definitely pink.
Yeah.
They were like almost like space pants. I feel like metallic, maybe.
Paint crackled.
Crackled. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew they were definitely weird because I remember that was like one of the first things Hector mentioned was
His pants. The pink.
Whoa.
Sorry. Hector was like, "Yeah, your pants are pink," and he was like, "Wow, you being homophobic right now?"
Right.
All right, Lucy, you gotta catch up. We're 3-1 right now. What was the theme of the charity gala?
It was a Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that was mentioned the most. It was past, present, and future of the city.
What did Hector and Matthew have to do to convince Grandma to organize the gala?
I even gave you a second. They had to convince her that they could work together as a team by making the chai eggnog cookies, which to me sounds disgusting,
True.
but go off.
Yeah. What kind of store does Matthew's grandma own?
A bookstore.
First time you heard that.
A milk store? What's a milk store?
No, a bookstore.
Oh.
You know, the milk store.
Milk
Oh,
store.
yay, Lucy got a
What
point.
kind of
Bookstore
books?
To what?
What kind of books?
What kind
Ugly
of books?
ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her daughter's books.
Not all. Only.
All right, ready? Who
Uh-huh.
is Greta?
Greta?
Let me just take a wild stab.
Oh, I know who she is now.
Okay,
Oh.
well, Lucy, chime in.
It's not right, but is it Dad's new lover?
No, but that would be funny.
Right?
Wait, that's who I thought it was.
Oh my god. No, I think her name was like Emily or something.
Hector's
Greta
mom?
is the woman Hector dances with at the senior living.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah.
All right, last one. It's a two-parter.
All
So
right.
there's two answers.
Okay.
What did Hector and Matthew ask for Christmas from Santa? Okay.
Hector wanted to see his family,
Okay.
Okay.
and Matthew wanted the gala to go well.
Nope. You want to try to get Matthews?
Is it Matthew just to New York?
Nope. To be sure of his future and find his own way.
Really?
Wow,
And Santa
that's
was like,
gay.
that was already inside you. And he was like, huh?
Oh. And he was like, what? I'm drunk.
Right.
In the middle of a park
Right,
with children.
Final tally here. We got Lucy coming in with 3 points. And Sabrina coming in with 6. Well, that was fun.
Yep.
Good job, guys.
I had fun.
I hope you guys can keep up with the book story.
Oh, well, I would hope that if they have read this book already before.
Oh, okay.
Unlike someone here.
I read the book.
She's spark notes.
You'd only read the epilogue.
I wish there were spark notes, but there wasn't.
It's new. It just came out.
I'm gonna write the spark notes.
Hasn't even been 2 months since this book came out.
What are some things, in your own personal opinion, your own thoughts, what are some things that you would have done differently, changed?
This is kind of a silly one. But at the end, the very end, the last page, where they got together, they had that feel-good moment, they're kissing, and then suddenly the author's like, and then the TSA agent saw what we were doing and started clapping, and everyone else started clapping.
Oh,
It's like, it was so cheesy.
I hated that.
So, why would you put that in the book? That's so cheesy.
Also, that wasn't the last page.
Oh my god.
That wasn't. Did you not finish?
What was the last page?
That was
A
when
year later.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's the
Okay.
epilogue. No, the
Oh,
Epilogue.
Epilogue.
EpiPen?
You need an EpiPen,
yeah, the last page of the last chapter of the book.
Okay.
It was just so cheesy though.
Yeah,
like why?
I did not enjoy that. I kind of forgot. It kind of fell out of my memory.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, come on.
I mean, what's gonna happen next? Like fireworks in the background, pigeons.
Pigeons?
You know, that's the same.
They are
time,
New
like-
York.
Unicorns.
Right. You know,
Just a rainbow forms over them.
like it just didn't make sense to me.
I would have loved. Anybody that's listened to the podcast knows I love points of views. So I would have loved a Hector.
That would have been nice.
Yeah, a Hector point of view would have taken the last bit and just formed into a better ball. But that would have lost that thing, the mom.
Mhm.
And being like, hey, he did
Right.
this. You would lose that in it. But he could hide something else. And we don't know what it is. So, I don't know. I think a point of view
Yeah.
from Hector would be cool.
I would have loved Hector's point of view when he was lost at the party.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, and
And
couldn't find
then
him.
he couldn't find him,
Right.
and then when he went out there, he was like leaving, and then it was like a scary movie for a minute when he like breaking down the door to the house. I was like, "What's happening right now? This
Yeah.
is spooky." But yeah, that would have been a great
Mhm.
scene for him to have done that, or even like when he first arrived, him being like, "Who is this little gay boy in this house I've been living in?" I think he could have used the power pose more. That made me laugh every time he did it. He literally tried to like intimidate people by doing a power pose that his mom showed him. He did it like several times. He did it at the end when he's talking to his mom and his dad and the publicist and they kick her out. His mom did the power pose, which I was just like, yes, full circle. But also I was like, maybe I should start just doing this. Like if I'm just walking around and someone
Can we see
isn't.
it? Can we see the power pose?
I don't really remember what it was.
Just that you did it.
This is a big thing of like, to show you're confident, you do the power pose. And I was
Right.
like, it was a little bit dramatic,
Mm-hmm.
but I also thought it was funny. And I wish they maybe would have added in just a couple more times. Like maybe Hector did it at some point. That would be fun.
Right.
Picked up on that.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing, why was the title Grinch themed when the entire story was
Mhm.
Christmas
Mhm.
Carol themed?
Right.
Not once in the story do they mention the Grinch
Mm-mm.
or anything about him. Only talk about the Christmas Carol in every single adaptation of that entire thing. The book, all the different movies, a play.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But can't think of what they would have called it to be Christmas Carol themed. I feel like you gotta mention him at
Mhm.
least once if you're gonna steal like the full title from the
I
Grinch.
feel like the past, the present, and the future of Matthew Prince or something.
Right.
You wanted
Yeah.
to get like,
You know.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just wanted that really green color, and the Christmas Carol was just not the vibe.
Mhm.
That's fair.
So they were like last minute
Right.
changed.
I
Right.
get it. Like
Never
I
changed
don't
title.
dislike the name. I think I was
Mhm.
like, okay, fine, whatever. The fact that they just never mentioned
Yeah,
it.
they never mentioned it. Calling himself like names or whatever when he was apologizing. He's like, I'm a Scrooge and whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
That's his only. He thinks of Christmas, and he's like, "That's it. It's
Mhm.
just the Christmas Carol."
Mhm.
And Krampus, he talks about.
Oh, yeah,
Krampus
That's
is a
his
big thing,
what he
yeah. Mm-hmm.
calls like his anxiety
Yeah.
thing.
I said that I wish there was, of course, more emphasis on the enemies to lovers. Would have really
Mhm.
fleshed out the book. I said that maybe childhood rivals would be cool because he's been to his grandma's
Mhm.
house before. Like you had said, maybe he was a neighbor or he went to the same elementary school for a little bit. Just some sort of history in there to explain why. Maybe he hated him for being gay and then he turned out to be bisexual or something.
Right.
Something to kind of like emphasize that enemy part of it, and then it wouldn't feel so fast of them falling in love. I wish there was more reconnect with grandma and mom. That we don't really see them connect at all at the end. Yeah, I really would have loved to see where Anna just runs into her mom's arms, hugs her, something. My biggest one is that I really wish we got to see Hector's family. Oh, I would have loved it. Yeah. It stops right at the door.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, what the heck? I've been sitting here waiting to meet his family.
Right.
And we never get to see it.
Mm-mm.
Very unfortunate. And the last thing I had was more of Matt's family at the beginning. I wish we would have started with maybe the morning he was going to leave and they were talking to the publicist's mom and dad instead of him being in the car on the way in.
One of the ones that I thought about a lot in this book, it was like a good chunk into the book until we found out what Matt's age is. Early 20s.
21.
Missed opportunity. Like, I love a good coming of age story, but he's already in his 20s.
Yeah.
You know, I would have loved if he was like younger, like 16, 17, that would kind of like explain.
Dating a married couple?
without, well, yeah.
We're progressive.
You would have,
progressive here on
you would have to
stuff.
Remove some elements of the book. But
a lot of elements of the book.
But like to explain like why he acts the way he acts through the entire story. Once you realize that he's probably like 21 or 22, it's like, well, so his parents sent him away to grandma's?
Supposed to make him feel childish. Because we, as older adults, look upon him and think, oh, that's a child. Even though he is 21. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's supposed to... I think it's supposed to make us think, yeah, he is older. And we do find out that he's older later. Mm-hmm. We immediately think, oh, he's probably like 19, 18 maybe.
Right.
And then find out he's older later. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, so he's acting this way even though he's older. But he's still in a rough spot where he is still kind of a child. He's still trying to figure things out. And the way that he's grown up and being in his parents' shadows the entire time.
Right.
That also applies to it.
I would have loved to see him, like you said, 18, 19 years old and figuring this all out and not. But it adds a lot to his character. Mm-hmm. You know, bailed out of the university and he has all these relationships behind him, especially the one with the two husbands.
I think they really play into him acting like a teenager because he was never treated like an adult. And I think that's why it's like, it makes sense for him to be the age he is. I don't really get why Hector likes him because he acts like he's 16 and just like throws tantrums and stuff. But also, I mean, like thinking of my own life, I didn't feel like an adult personally until I was at least 21. I think it was just like okay, yeah, there are things that happen to you like around that age still that make you be like, wow, I really am an adult. And like he said, like, I've been an adult for 4 years already. He just never actually felt like it. He just wanted people to treat him like one, but they never did because his parents, I mean, he never even got to be really a child, so he's kind of stuck.
What a great way to end the podcast. We're getting close to an end here, but before we go, we do one last thing. We are going to rate the book. We're going to make a little rating scale, but we do a little bit different here on the Book Stop. We make up our own thing. So I would give You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince by Timothy Janovsky 8 revamping of cars to make a gay Christmas romance out of 10. Yeah, I thought it was a really great representation of a lot of coming of age things, and I think that it had a really solid plot. I think it could have developed out a little bit better. But love the characters. I love the message that it brought. I love the character development, the arc, all of it. It was really nice.
Personally, I thought that I was going to rate this higher than you, so I'm kind of shocked. But I would give this book 7.5 half-decent coffees out of 10. Thought it was a really nice story, very easy to read or listen to. I mean, it was just something playing, and I could still understand everything that was going on. And I have always loved Hallmark movies, but there also weren't a lot of gay Hallmark movies ever, so like to see more representation of the LGBT community, mental health, like all that in something that I'm very used to is nice to see.
So I'll give Matthew Prince 7 Krampuses. Okay.
Out of how many? 700.
Right. Out of 10. I liked the book. I thought it was a nice read. There was a lot of cheese in it. You know, especially towards the end.
Hope you're not lactose intolerant.
I just thought some of the storylines could be played out a little bit more, and some of them could be played out a lot less. Instead of like, it doesn't even show like a time frame really. between when they first met and when they started being intimate and,
I know that they had 2 weeks to get everything done.
Yeah, so in the span of 2 weeks, we go from we hate each other to, now we're an item and now we're together forever in the epilogue.
Okay. I hate you. And
so
now we're done.
7 Krampuses out of 10. I don't hate the book. I like it. I loved it.
Thank you guys so much for coming and talking about this gay little book at this gay little season. Have a gay little Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Happy New Year.
And a gay little New Year.
I hope that your days are merry and bright and gay, of course.
Of course.
That's so cute.
Yeah, the book stop is taking a little hiatus in January, but we will be back in February, and I'm super excited. If you guys want to keep in contact and getting all the exclusive stuff for the book stop, head over to Patreon. And yeah,
what
thank
was
you
that?
guys.
One more time.
If you had to interrupt me, if you head over to the Patreon and subscribe today. Now, Lucy, it's interesting because I didn't hear your name in the podcast shout out.
There's too many people to list. We do a little bit at a time.
No, we do everyone.
We support everybody who supports this podcast and subscribe to the Patreon along with Lucy, who's about to go do that. Please do. I hope to see you guys at some point next year. I'll be
you guys
back.
will both be on, next year.
I'll see you in 1 year, yeah.
1 year yet? What?
He'll see you in the epilogue, right?
And have a great night. Or day. Or morning, wherever you are.
Whatever time you're hearing this. Bye!
Merry Christmas! Thank you for turning the pages with us today. If you've enjoyed this episode, show your support by leaving a review, sharing the episode, and following the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast. Join us on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Hope you are too.